I don't know where he could possibly be. He's never late.
I
Richie's
know.
never late.
I know. I don't get it.
Sweater's here.
Grego said that this was going to happen someday.
You're right. I mean, we go on in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Guys, we're already live.
What? Welcome to PressBox DFW Live, our weekly lunch hour at Tuesday.
And where is Richie?
Richie, I think the law finally got onto him. He skipped town.
We better be honest with people. Richie today is in County Cork, I think.
Oh, is that where he is?
In Ireland, right?
The Emerald Isle.
Yeah. The last we heard, that's where he was. He was on
So
his
that
way
was
to Cork.
County Cork, not County Court.
Cork. Cork. He might be. He might be. And he had an unexpected opportunity, a last-minute opportunity, thanks to his lovely wife Sybil, to go quickly to Ireland on a junket, I imagine. Yeah. And he had to leave suddenly. He only found out about it on Friday. He departed on Sunday. He'll be gone for a week. And we're happy to have filling in for Richie this week. Marjorie Herrera Lewis, our former colleague at the Star Telegram. And Marjorie and I worked together, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
When she was the first female to ever be the beat reporter for the Dallas Cowboys.
Guys, we
back in the day.
we have Richie on the line.
Oh,
great.
He found out that you guys were talking about him.
Oh, great. Right.
Hello, Richie.
Top of the morning to you, gentlemen.
Top of the
and
morning.
Women.
Good morning.
Actually, it's 6 o'clock in the evening here in the lovely bar area of the Kingsley Hotel in Cork, Ireland, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds nice.
We were wondering about that. I wanted to know if I hear there's a rare species there, as rare as a Bigfoot sighting, a sober Irishman. Have you seen any of those around?
I have not. I have not. I've seen many of gray-haired, drunken Irishmen, and I fit in just right. So the big news from here, guys, is this country is buzzing about the Cowboys going 16.
I'll bet.
I didn't realize how far removed we were as far as in the States, as little as the Irish care about American sports, but I've been reminded about it real quick. There's a huge international friendly soccer game here today, and there's going to be 60,000 people on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night here, and they don't care about American sports. I mean, the Monday night game started here last night at 1 in the morning, and I went around just for fun today saying, hey, do you think the Cowboys are going to go 16-0? And they looked at me like I had an extra horn sticking out of my head. It was just, they just don't care. It's crazy.
Well, rugby's the big thing there right now, too.
Yeah, soccer, football and then soccer, right? Football and rugby are the two things here.
I think they have the number one ranked rugby team in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe I should have asked if that team's going to go 16-0. It probably got
That's
better
right.
response.
Well, they got the big Rugby World Cup or something getting ready to happen. See, I know these kind of things.
That's right.
Gill's international, of course.
Yeah, that's
He
pretty
is
impressive.
There's no doubt. So it sounds like you have Marjorie in.
Yes, we do.
Me. Is that it?
Yeah,
Am I going to get my job back? Should I even
I don't
come
know.
back to the States?
Don't
Or
bother.
just stay here and take
Don't
the
bother.
job?
I'm having too good a time here to give this seat up.
I know. It's fun carrying those two up the hill every day. You'll love it.
Well, what's the weather like?
Okay, so this morning I went for a little jog in the brisk 42-degree temperature. And then I had
Oh,
a
no.
hot bowl of porridge to get me going. And then tonight at dinner, I'm going to have some lamb stew.
Oh.
Nothing that I could do in Dallas this time of year. So it's beautiful over here.
Did they do the haggis thing in Ireland?
I have not asked about the haggis. I
Haggis
feel like
might
that's
be
offensive
Scotland, huh?
somehow to somebody. Is it not?
I don't know. What is haggis? Don't.
I have no idea. But I don't want to walk up to a stranger and go, hey, can I have some haggis? I might get punched or something.
With
You
your
might end
Cowboys
up.
jersey
You
on.
might end up in county court.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right. So we started out, shout out, by the way, to Sharon Carr Travel. That's Sharon, C-A-R-R, Travel. Check them out at SharonCarrTravel.com. That's the company that's making this trip possible for my wife, Sybil, and I. So we started out, we landed in Dublin after a 9-hour plane ride, which is always fun. Spent the day and night in Dublin yesterday, and then today took a bus, or a coach, as it were, to basically like a 3-hour drive through what looked like the scene from Braveheart. And they really did film. They did film some of that movie there where we went. We went to a 6th century monastery, and I thought,
Oh, wow.
there's some stuff in Dallas and Fort Worth I thought was old, but stuff here has been built since the 500s. I mean,
Right,
it's
sure.
it's nuts over here. We went through the town of Waterford where they make the crystal, and now in the town of Cork where they make the corks. And then, John, you'll love this. 2 nights from now, we're going to spend the night in the town of Limerick. And I know you're a big fan of the Limerick.
Yes, I am.
So I'll try to get you something from Limerick, Ireland.
That'd be awesome.
Keep it clean.
It's a Limerick.
He doesn't, so why should I? I'm learning from him, the Limerick master.
Right.
Are you going to get to kiss the Blarney Stone?
You know what? We are. We're going to Blarney. I don't know when, but people have been saying, take a piece of plastic or some some sort of linen or something. Don't just kiss it. And I'm like,
Right.
You know what? When in Blarney, Blarney. So I'm just going full lips.
Oh,
I'll never kiss you again, that's for sure.
Well, that deters me then.
So is this your first trip out there?
This is my first trip to Ireland. Yes, I've been to London. I've been to Europe, but I've never been to Ireland. So it's. I mean, I thought it looks exactly as I envisioned, which is the cities are very old and cramped, but beautiful in their own way with just character oozing. And you get 1 minute outside of Dublin, and it's just green, lush hillside dotted with more cows and sheep than there are people. It's just breathtaking. It really is.
Sounds nice.
What about golf? You going to get to play any golf out there?
I do have a 9-hole golf set up for when we're in Killarney, or Killarney, as they say here. So, yeah, I've got that set up. And hopefully it'll give me some Irish weather, maybe 50 degrees with 100-mile-an-hour wind. That's what I want, like British Open conditions is what I'm looking for.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, so from a sports standpoint, and then I'll let you guys get to it, is DFW just buzzing about Dak and the Cowboys? I mean, I figure they are.
Super Bowl baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a done deal.
Kellen Moore's the next Bill Walsh, and actually he's better than Bill Walsh.
Kellen Moore's already been anointed genius, the young genius.
You know what?
Much like Jason Garrett was after his
Right.
So one of the things I couldn't stand about Scott Linehan was, and it's just me and my dorky friends, when we watch a game on Sunday, anytime it was 2nd and 10, we would all just go, here comes a run, because they were so predictable. Because Scott Linehan and Jason Garrett wanted to make it a manageable 3rd down, right? So they would run the ball in 2nd 10. Well, if me and my dorky family could figure out, imagine what, heady veteran defensive coordinators could figure out. So Sunday I charted it, and they had 2nd and 10 9 times, and they passed 7 of those times. That right there is, to me, a big step in the right direction. I'm not saying Kellen Moore needs a statue next to Tom Landry outside the stadium, but didn't you guys like what you saw from not just the execution, but the varied play calling?
Well, yeah.
I certainly did. I mean, they say that they're running the same plays that Linehan had run before, but the order that they're running them it was pretty exciting, I thought.
Yeah,
and that matters, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It falls in line with what you were just saying about passing on 2nd down.
Yeah, a lot more motion, movement. Some of it's probably decoy, but I think it keeps the defense on its toes.
It looks too like they're giving Dak a little more freedom, or maybe he's just hit a higher comfort level with Kellen's play calling, and so he was able to do a lot of recognition things. All those plays down the middle were just pure recognition, and plus he was unusually accurate on Sunday. You probably noticed.
He was.
And that's what blew me away was, I mean, I'm going to say this. For the first time in his career, I watched Dak Prescott and said, that guy's a good pocket passer. I mean, he's always been a good on the move. He's already been able to make plays with his legs. But as you said, Gil, he looked comfortable, 7-step drop, checking down to his second or third read, and then delivering an accurate pass. I know that sounds really like, duh, isn't that what an NFL quarterback's supposed to be? But that's been the knock I've always had about Dak is he's never looked like a pocket passer. But he did on Sunday. Now, again, let's all preface this with one small detail. I think the Giants really, really suck. I think they're going to be horrible. Their secondary looked like the Texas Longhorns trying to cover LSU. I mean, there were guys open everywhere.
Yeah, and no pass rush whatsoever. I mean, he had all the time.
Yeah, no pass rush.
Yeah, he really
Right.
did. But he showed some nice vertical ability that we hadn't really seen with that kind of accuracy before. But yeah, the Giants' defense, it's really not a good measure, I don't think yet.
So that tempers
No,
that
it's
buzz
not.
a little bit. But all right, Richie.
All right, guys. Did you just call me Ricky? I mean, I've only been gone for 1/10 of one episode, Jerry, and I'm already being replaced. Dang it. I guess I got to amend my passport to throw that Ricky back in the States so I can come back next week.
Well, we're definitely changing the passcode at the studios here. So
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Sharon
Richie.
Have
Carr
fun there.
Travel, CARR, SharonCarrTravel.com. You guys have a good show, and I will have some nice beverages for you guys. And remember, slancha to all.
all right,
Okay.
all right,
Okay.
very
All right,
good.
love
Have a
you
good
guys. See you
trip.
next week.
See ya.
Travel safely.
Yeah, safe travels.
Sounds like he's having a terrible time over there.
I know. Should we let him back?
I don't know.
He might not want to come
Yeah,
I
back.
don't know. Before we move on, let's talk about your book right quick. You've been
Oh.
on the show to do it once before, but tell us a little about. I love Tylene Wilson.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's what I've been hoping to hear from everyone who reads this. So it's a novel based on a true story of Tylene Wilson, a woman who coached football in Brownwood, Texas during World War II. And the book is set in 1944. She actually coached for several years. But I ended up writing a novel because most of what I needed to write a biography was lost to time. So I novelized the accounts and still memorialized what she did. And she was an incredible woman.
Well, it's great, and it's been well received by the critics, and
Oh, it's been,
by all appearances, a commercial success as well.
yeah, I've just been overwhelmed with the response. I was hoping when I first started working on it, my family would ask me, what do you hope that to happen with this book? And I said, well, I hope I sell 100 copies, 50 of which are not to my family.
Right.
And it ended up, Sports Illustrated named it the #1 novel of 2018, and it's made some other lists like best book on Newsweek and hit some bestseller lists. So I've been really thrilled.
Absolutely.
And it's listed, I think, as a historical novel. Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
yes,
Because, to explain to people, you didn't have access to Tylene.
Right.
And so you had to recreate a lot of the dialogue after interviews with people who knew her and
Right.
had spoken to her and all that.
Yeah, and then I
So
also...
it's not a made up story.
It's not.
very
Not at all.
much a
Right,
fact.
no, it's based
rooted
on a
in-
true.
yeah, deeply rooted in fact.
But I had to create the narrative.
Sure.
Yeah, because that was gone.
It doesn't detract from the story in any way. I mean, it's
I loved it. It was-
It's a
well,
terrific
thank
read
you.
from front to back. Tell us about where the movie
Okay.
stands.
Yeah, so we sold the rights to the film, and Sky Emerson, she recent award-winning screenwriter with the Sundance, she's writing the script. She has already sent me a copy of the treatment, and later this month I should be getting a copy of the first go-through on the draft, the full draft. And she and I are going to be going out to Brownwood in a couple of weeks. The football coach, Sammy Burnett, has invited us to stand on the sidelines
very
and
good.
take in a game with the Brownwood Lions. And once we get the script squared away, then we'll be sending it out, trying to get the cast and moving forward. The producers tell me it's next on their list of feature films.
So they haven't cast it yet.
Not yet, no. I have a few people in mind, but I don't think they care what I think.
Oh, let's hear a couple of names.
Well, I have to be honest. I wrote it with the real Tylene in mind. In fact, I had her picture next to my computer while I was writing the book. But when I think about who might play her, Amy Adams comes to mind.
Wow.
I think she'd be very strong, but have also different layers, and I think she'd be great.
Yeah. What I've always been curious about what kind of influence the author has over the screenplay, and what was that experience like?
Well, when I got an agent out in Beverly Hills, she's with CAA. She's a wonderful agent, and I told her that I really wanted to be. I wanted to be protective of Tylene's character. And of course, I know nothing about the film industry. I've never had anything to do with that. So I knew they would do what they wanted to do. But my agent was able to get me an executive producer credit. And so I have creative input. And the screenwriter, she fortunately is fascinated with my background and what brought me to this story and what I've done in journalism through all the years. So she told me she'd like me to be a part of the screenwriting through the process, not writing it, but she sends it to me, and I give her input, and I mark it up, and I do certain things, and then she goes back and addresses those. So I feel like they've been great to me and given me a chance to have a little bit of a footprint there. But the story's going to be a lot different. They do that with movies, but I want them to be true to Tylene's character. I don't want them to turn her into somebody she wasn't.
When is the target for the release of that movie? They
haven't said that yet. No, I think as it turns out, the way I'm learning about how this works is they want to get the script done first, and then they want to try to see if they can get somebody on board, and then they'll start putting timelines together.
Very good. Well,
wonderful,
and
really excited about it. Thanks.
Perfect Christmas gift. When the Men Were Gone. It's a great book. It's a wonderful story.
Well, thank you.
So Ziggy, let's talk some college football in the pregame meal.
Anymore?
No.
Okay, what do you need?
I'm going to email
Okay.
you the password.
Today's pregame meal,
thanks.
we have a new sponsor, the good people at Park Place Lexus. For more than 30 years, the Park Place family of dealerships has been serving this area. Go out and see the good folks there, and you'll say Park Place is the place for everything Lexus. We had a big weekend.
We did indeed.
Last weekend as far as football goes. We'll get to the Cowboys in a little bit, but first let's take care of the dirty laundry left behind by the two big college games from the teams in this area. And we're talking about the Aggies and the Longhorns. Both were trying to make big statements for the state of Texas, for the state of their programs. And depending on how you look at it, both didn't quite get the job done. In the Aggies case, they thought that having played Clemson, number one ranked Clemson close a year ago, they thought that was an automatic springboard. After all, they did pay $75 million for their coach, and they thought that it was just a natural progression to go into Clemson, South Carolina, and beat the Tigers. It didn't quite work out that way. They lost 24-10. I actually thought they played well from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, hold them to 24. I mean,
Yeah,
they were kind of bend, don't break type.
And don't let the score fool you. Unless you were a gambler, the Aggies touchdown came with 6 seconds left.
Right.
It enabled them to cover the it enabled them to the spread. I think was 18.5.
Yeah.
So they were. If you bet the Aggies, you cheered loudly for that last touchdown. But after throwing for 430 yards against Clemson a year ago in College Station, Kellen Mond only had 236 this time, threw an interception, lost a fumble. The offense struggled. The running game only produced 53 yards, and they were competitive, but they weren't. They didn't have the right stuff. They were outclassed, I thought, by Clemson.
What do you think we learned about A&M through that game?
Well, I think we learned that they're the same kind of football team that they were in the second half of last year. I don't know. You know, one of the knocks I have with A&M is they've never wanted to do stuff gradually. They always want to take a shortcut, quick.
$75
To
million.
use the military, to
So
use their
true.
own military terminology, they want to double time to back to the top, and you know, all they have, their goals are still out there for them. All they have to do is beat Alabama, Auburn, and then go on the road for the final two games and win at Georgia and at LSU, and
man.
they'll all be taken.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine.
Woot.
Everything will be fine. Right.
Woot.
Right. And so, you know, this has a good chance to be another 8-4 team. And it'll cost them, what, $7.5 million for
The coach.
the head coach's
Yeah.
expertise to get to 8-4.
And all his assistants.
And
that are-
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't see anything changing. I mean, that schedule is just incredible, and everybody else is already step or two ahead of them. You know, I
Yeah.
just don't see them coming out of any of those games you mentioned with a victory. I don't see how.
But it was the first game, and you know, well, second game, but
First real
their
game.
first real test. And we, you know, you got to be careful. You don't want to overreact. That I know people are going to people do that, especially you know when you lose one of these early games. But I think the fact that they were there wasn't a real area that they were better than Clemson in.
No.
They were outplayed along the line. They were outplayed at the skill positions. They were outcoached on the sidelines, especially by the defensive coordinator, Brett Venables. And they got outclassed by a team that's certainly capable of doing that to just about anybody, including they did it in the championship game last year.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about Clemson, too. It might say more about Clemson
Right.
than anything else. Clemson's very good.
Jimbo Fisher was 1-3 on the road in 2018, and going back to his last year at Florida State, he's won only one game out of 6 on the road. So
That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And, you know,
sounds
of
like a
course, this is-
$75 million coach to me.
Yeah. And, you know, of course it is on the road in Clemson. You know, that's always going to be a tough one. But, yeah, I didn't see anything there that would tell me there would be anything different coming
Well,
down
let's
the
see
road.
how they do. You know, I mean, they like we said, the season's all in front of them, and you know, the quarterback's got to get better, and they have plenty of chance to do it.
They did lose
Mm-hmm.
running back, too.
Yeah, he's out for
Which
for the
certainly not going to help.
for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not
I think he is.
yeah, Corbin, Joshua Corbin. Is that how you pronounce
Yeah,
his
that's
first
another
name?
tough.
All right, in Austin, there was a terrific ball game, if I do say so myself. But it was a terrific game. It was a battle of quarterbacks. Sam Ellinger for Texas and Joe Burrow for LSU. Lots of points being scored, lots of defensive backs being abused, even though both schools claimed they were DBU. It was, if you had a rooting interest in the game, it was probably hell to sit through for
Tell us
four
about
and a
it.
Yeah,
half hours.
really, for
Yeah, I can tell you about
everybody.
it. LSU, I thought the defense was just gassed at the end of the game. I've never seen. Well, I've seen that happen before. I mean, when the tempo picks up, it happens to even good teams. I mean, look what happened to Alabama in the championship game last year. And so LSU's deal it was that for years under Les Miles, in the 2011 season, Les Miles, the former coach, had an epiphany, or in his mind he did. He saw that they went to
He has a lot
Alabama.
of epiphanies.
They went to Alabama and they won a defensive struggle in Tuscaloosa on a last-second field goal. No, I can't remember if it was last second or overtime now. And he said, "Wait a minute! All I've got to do is run the ball, keep it close, and let my defense win these games." And so he didn't care to open anything up from that point on. He felt that he could do that, use that formula, ride it out to 9 or 10 victories, or 10 or 11 victories every year, and be close, and it might sneak up and actually beat Alabama again.
That sounds like another guy we know around here a lot in yesteryear.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about Gary,
Yeah.
But Gary changed. You know,
He did.
in
He did.
2014, you know, Gary got new offensive coordinator, installed the spread, and they had a tremendous season. Ended up winning the Peach Bowl. And when Ed Orgeron took over for Les Miles, he wanted to do something about the offense, and he didn't have the quarterback to do it. But starting last year, he saw the possibilities when Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State, and the Saints were kind enough to recommend and offer a young guy, a young coach named Joe Brady that was had worked with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and he helped install the spread at LSU this past spring, and I think we saw the results Saturday night. The Tigers have a deep and talented young receiver core, and they have an experienced senior quarterback who made a lot of good choices, and we saw a breathless football game that was.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. I think, in my own prejudiced way, my own alumnus way, I think LSU was probably 11 or 12 points better in the game and showed that. But I think the home field advantage and Texas not giving up and playing to the final whistle, it ended up appropriately being a 7-point ball game.
Yeah. I love what Orgeron is doing there. I think
Well,
USC is probably looking at what they've done in the years since they didn't keep him,
Right.
and been.
Well, he wasn't
second.
that kind of coach then, though. I
No,
think
but
him
he-
being home and plus, the whole Sean Payton recommending Joe Brady
Yeah.
business and whatever, and
But I think he adapts, as we're seeing now. So he may not have been
Right.
that kind of coach then, but I
when
think
he was at Ole Miss, he wasn't.
Right,
He
not
thought
at
he was in
all.
charge and he was the guy, and he
Yeah.
was going to rip off his shirt and do the commercials, and yeah. But he's changed.
He has
He's
changed, and I love what he's doing at LSU. And I'm a Pac-12 graduate. It would have been nice to have seen him do that at USC, but I just think he was a great hire, and there are great things for LSU coming down the road. I think just watching what he's
I
done
like
in a
the
short
Texas
amount of time.
coach, though.
Yeah, I do too.
I think they've got.
I
their
think so,
coach.
too.
I think
Yes.
I think that he's organized. I think he's got his philosophy well in hand. I think next year they're going to be terrific.
Yes,
I think.
You could see when they played Tulsa at home last year. It looked like they were lost. They weren't going to be anything the rest of the season, and they turned it around by the next game, the next two games, and it was not the same team.
They played Tulsa last year.
Yeah, in Austin, and
Good
barely
scheduling,
lost.
Chris.
Barely lost. Tulsa made a couple mistakes that cost them the game. So you look at that, and you look at where they are now, and Tom Herman is really getting them going. I think they did find the right coach.
They're on the precipice, I think. How difficult do you think it is, right quickly on this game, for a team like LSU who changed their offense, and Texas, who's never seen LSU in that offense before? It's got to be difficult to prepare for that. I mean, Texas faces the air raid and all that.
Yeah, they
stuff
see
right
it every
now.
week, and
But they haven't. But as far as LSU and the principles they have running the offense, it's got to be difficult to prepare.
Yeah,
early
I don't
season.
know. I don't know where they went. Coaches like to look at the tape. They like to study, and they had nothing to go by. What do you do? LSU, to prepare for the season, watched a lot of Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints video to get an idea of
get
the
ready.
rhythm
Yeah,
and
right.
the things that they did. And unless Tom Herman was wise enough to do that, they had nothing to go by. And I tell you another thing: the receivers that LSU has, virtually the same group as last year. But last year, the difference was they kept dropping things.
Oh,
They-
yeah.
They were freshmen. They didn't. They weren't sure where the ball was going to be and things like that. So that was a season-long problem. The other night, they didn't drop anything.
They're adapting to the speed, to the pace, and look good.
Yeah, but unlike the Aggies, the Texas does have a much smoother path ahead of them.
Definitely.
They're going to have to play Oklahoma maybe twice, probably twice, and if they take care of business, if they don't have their traditional slip-up whether it's to Oklahoma State,
Or Iowa State,
or Tech, or
or-
Iowa State, or something, or TCU.
Frogs,
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, TCU in Fort Worth this year. There's reason for them to think that they can run the table, and if they lose one of these other games, they can forget the playoff probably, because I don't think the playoff committee would take a 2-loss Big 12
Oh,
team.
no.
But if they do run the table, which is possible with his team, then they'll be in the conversation. I think they could even get away with losing to Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl and then coming back and winning the conference championship game and sneaking in. That could.
I could see that as a potential scenario. If they, like you said, I don't see them taking a 2-loss team from the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
So they could lose to Oklahoma in the regular season, come back and beat them, and still get a shot.
But next year is
Yeah.
going to be their year, I think. I just think, they'll get a lot of people back. They won't have to rebuild their defense. And Ellinger will be back for probably his last year. And, I think they're going to be loaded. They'll have a difficult game coming up next year in Baton Rouge, but they'll have the kind of team that can go in and play that game.
I think they're definitely heading in that direction.
We
Yeah.
have one other game of note that we need to touch on. TCU gets back in action this week. They go to Purdue. I'm headed up there to go watch them play. Who knows? We don't exactly know yet who the quarterback for Purdue will be. Elijah Sindelar, the Boilermakers quarterback, threw for 509 yards and 5 touchdowns last week against Vanderbilt, but he had a concussion, and who knows? Right now they were saying that he's iffy for the game on Saturday, and I would think that a quarterback with 509 yards needs to be playing for them to have a chance. But
Right.
Gary Patterson's TCU teams typically play well on the road in these intersectional games, and it's going to be fun. I think it'll be a good test, a good early test for the Frogs. It's not like going into Ohio State and playing, or Michigan, but I think this is the kind of game that they would be a good stepping stone to the season for them.
And same thing with the Frogs. We don't really know who their quarterback is yet either. Well, there's 2
Right.
of them.
Right. There's at least 2.
At
that
least
that
At
we
least,
know of.
yeah. Not like last year.
He
where
hinted
they had
around.
about 3 or
Well, he
4.
hinted around there were going to be others that enter the
Yeah,
fray.
there's Max Duggan, the freshman from Iowa, and I thought he did a lot of promising things in the first week. Alex Delton, though, is the senior quarterback, a grad transfer from Kansas State, and Alex got the start, and Alex played significant time during the game. But I think we'll see.
I
know
think they both give him something.
You got to be careful when you start a freshman quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost like when
unless
you-
your
when
name
you-
is Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Right. It's almost like if you're going to start a freshman, or a first year guy, you got the key number is 4. You got to be careful, because there's going to be a good chance that he's going to screw up royally 4 times and cost you games. So you got to somehow work around those 4. Otherwise, you're looking at an 8-4 season.
No, which there are worse things in the world, but I know that the expectations around here have changed.
Right. Yeah, I think TCU fans would consider an 8-4 season a disappointment.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
would, but
Yes, now.
absolutely. But if you're going to go with a freshman quarterback and you go 8-4, and that guy gets good experience going 8-4, I think it's a successful season. But of course, I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
And typical Gary, he'll think that they're going to fire him or something like that. You're not getting fired,
No,
Coach.
no, that's
There's a
not
There's a
happening.
statue.
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
statue of you in front of the building. So
All right.
so
Well,
much for that's so much for the pregame meal and college football. Let's talk some Cowboys.
Let's do Cowboys. Cowboys look to be in form after week 1. All right, here we go with double drivel on September the 10th. I've got to introduce a couple new bobbleheads. I was at the SMU North Texas game on Saturday, and dropped by the George W. Bush Presidential Museum and went in. At the LBJ Museum, they have all the bobbleheads, all the presidential bobbleheads. So I went in to get a new one. All they had was George W., which is fine. I've got George W. I'll bring him up here sometime. And I went and picked up something else, went to the cashier, and she asked me, as they always do, did you find everything okay? And I said, well, actually, I was looking for some of these presidential bobbleheads. Well, we don't have them. All we have is George W. However, she said, we do have Barney, President Bush's dog, in the Oval Office.
The first dog.
The first dog, Barney Bush. And I said, bring that thing over here. So, welcome to PressBox DFW Live, Barney.
Yeah, that's a nice
Does he
one.
cost as much as a human bobblehead?
Yes.
Oh,
Well, he's probably one of the most popular, so he might even cost a little more.
He might. True. And by the time you get done with all the vet bills, you're spent way
Oh,
too
you've
much
sent
on
the
it.
dog through private school.
Exactly. And then at the game, they were giving away
The
Doak
Dokester.
Walker bobbleheads. And I went down and grabbed one of those because I had to have a Doak Walker bobblehead.
Oh, yeah.
that's a very good image of
It
Doak
actually
Walker.
is. Good looking
Wonderful.
young Doak Walker.
And I see Tattoo is still on the injury list.
Tattoo's still on the IL or the IR, but his day is coming. One of these days,
Okay.
he'll be back.
We're
on
all
his feet.
rooting for Tattoo
Okay.
to make a comeback.
He'll come back shirtless.
Did you watch the Cowboy game?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I watched. Yeah, I thought the Cowboys looked. The great news is the Cowboys looked fantastic, except for the first drive. The bad news is, as we mentioned earlier, they can't play the Giants every week.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought there were a lot of things to be encouraged about. It's still an NFL team,
Right.
you know, and if the Giants are as bad as we think they are, and they certainly appear to be, the Cowboys did what they were supposed to do and walked over them.
Well, I think the bad thing, the worst thing about the Giants Sunday was their secondary, and that was kind of to be expected. And you know, it was a very strange naked bootleg call down by the goal line that they made that would have at least made the game close down the stretch. But I don't know why with that lineup that they have. I mean, why don't you give the ball to Saquon Barkley 40 times a game?
Yeah.
11
yes,
times, at least,
exactly.
He was the
Yeah.
best player on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, why would you not try to put the ball in his hand?
Well, on the first drive, they ran it down their throats.
Yeah.
You know, and just
Right.
disappeared from it.
Yeah, see, I don't think the Dallas defense played particularly well Sunday. I thought they played good, and I think that's encouraging though. That even on a bad day, even on kind of a spotty day, they still were good enough to control the game.
Right.
I didn't think the linebackers had a good game at all. But that's I'm not the kind of person that's going to go grading film.
You don't do that anymore?
No, I don't
You don't
grade.
sit home, grade
Yeah.
I don't grade the film. I just look at the game, and I was there in person, and then I watched parts of it again on TV just to confirm my impressions. I thought the quarterback was terrific. I thought he had his best day, and I think
Yeah, ever.
Probably the best I've ever seen.
yeah,
Yes.
the offensive coordinator. The best thing Kellen Moore did that day not only was to keep it simple and make sure that him and Dak were on the same page, but the thing I was most impressed with was he showed up and talked to the media after the game.
Oh, yeah.
With breaking precedent. I'm not sure how many times Scott Linehan did that during his time, and that's we usually don't get to talk to the coordinators after
Right.
the game. There's a side door, there's a trap door, there's I don't know. Maybe they go out through one of the bathroom stalls, but we don't get to talk to them. But they put Kellen off to the side and announced that Kellen Moore is here if anybody needs to talk to him, and we went.
He may continue as long as they're winning, at least.
Right.
And he, you probably saw excerpts of it on TV. He explained himself well. He handled himself well. He was somewhat self-deprecating, just perfect. And he looked almost for lack of a better word, presidential. You know, it looked like the kind of guy that, I can see him being a head coach one.
Oh, yeah,
one day.
definitely.
Definitely
And
trending
he certainly
up.
seemed more human than Jason
Oh, yeah.
Guerin ever has.
And what's also nice is that he and Dak already had a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, as colleagues,
Right.
and Dak has been very open about how he was impressed with Kellen when he was coming onto the team. So there's some kind of rapport there, and they might understand each other a little bit better than previous.
Well, let's not forget that there is a new quarterback coach, John Kitna,
Yeah,
who I think
yeah.
his impact was shown
Curious
too.
to see what his impact ultimately will be. I think we're seeing it a little bit of it.
Yeah, I think there's a real comfort zone, a comfort factor that he's helped Dak with, and then it's Kellen's job to call the plays and
Right.
and get everybody on the same page. And they were in mid-season form and that.
They did look like it. It was really a surprise. I have to say I was surprised to see them playing that well in the season opener.
Yeah. I talked to Kellen Moore at training camp last year,
Yeah.
and he did have quite a nice little dry wit about him. You could tell he.
I covered him in college. The TCU and Boise were
Same
were
conference.
big. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were big rivals. They'd met each other in bowl games twice, I think. And I remember going to Ruston, Louisiana, and covering Boise, playing Louisiana Tech one night to see what this Boise myth was all about. And they were real. He was real friendly and everything then. And he says there's a little bit of the Boise influence in his play calling and his offense and his philosophy and everything. But this week they've got to go to Washington now, and just like in everything else, it could all change in a hurry. What was your first year covering the Cowboys?
The '86 season. So they started
Who would have
out
been the quarterback?
6 Steve Pallure.
Oh,
No. Actually, it was Danny White.
That was
yeah,
the
it was
year
first
of-
Danny
of-
White
of-
first.
of Herschel Walker and
Yes, that's when Herschel Walker. But they started out 6-2, and then went.
Did they win the opener?
1-7 the rest of the way.
I remember that.
Yeah, and did they win? I can't remember. It was.
Yeah, they did. That was we had it last week. That was the year they opened with the Giants and Walker
That
scored.
night, that was
that's right.
they
Monday
said they went into the full house that
Yes,
night, and that was really like an
Dorsett and
electrifying
Herschel.
moment. That's right. That was
we're
the
sitting
first.
all there watching, going,
Yes.
"Oh my God, what do these guys have in the back?"
And then they had Timmy Newsome,
Newsome, yeah.
Dorsett, Herschel Walker lineup. Yeah,
My memory might be failing me, but if you're right. I remember they started 6-2, and they
And then
beat the Redskins, I think, to go 6-2.
they
And Timmy Newsome caught a big. They won in the last moments, and then they went 1-7.
1-7 the rest of the way. That broke their streak of not having a losing season, and they ended up 7-9 that year. Yeah.
Well, they need to beat 3-0 before they go against the Saints in a few weeks, and if they're not, that's not a good omen. But anyway,
how many other? You covered the Cowboys for parts of what other seasons?
Well, this 86, 87, 88. Then I went to the Dallas Morning News and covered them not as a beat writer, but still went to the games and covered the Herschel Walker trade, things like that.
So
that were
you would
going
have
on then.
actually done the Steve Pallure, Gary Hogaboom.
Yes,
years.
yeah. Yeah, Gary Hogaboom and Danny White, Steve Pallure. They were all. That was all going on at that time. The Tom Landry, no, Steve, no.
Right.
Just all those moments.
No, Danny, no.
Or no, Danny, no. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you've got a better
Right,
memory
right.
than all of a
Right.
sudden. But he could have been saying no, Steve, no, poor guy. I mean, it was a tough.
that was the
it was a
Bears.
tough
I mean,
time.
That was ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right quickly, Gil, where are we this week in the press box?
That would be beautiful, built on the cheap FedEx feel in Landover, Maryland. And this, why do we have this view looking from the end zone? Because that's where the media sits.
That is the press box.
in at FedEx Field. Everybody that thinks that we sit in air conditioned luxury at the 50-yard line and are fed grapes needs to go with me to Washington, because Dan Snyder, this is where he decided that he could better sell those sideline the whole sideline level where the press box was.
Oh,
And so the press box is actually in the end zone, and it's a little bit lower than this angle. Not much lower, but a little bit lower. So, and it's even worse. It's open.
Oh, so it was at RFK also. Remember, it was open.
Yeah,
it was so
open.
cold.
And at and the way they try to get around it at FedEx Field is there's like a fan up above you and a heater down below. So one of them's blowing out hot air and the other one's blowing the air, and it's just a formula for pneumonia.
Oh, it sounds awful.
And there's so many good stories. We will have to tell them sometime about some of the press box traditions in Washington, including the time I accidentally threw a hot dog back, and a hot dog, a cold hot dog with one bite taken out of it. I got disgusted. I threw it back, and it landed right on a pile of the still untaken hot dogs. So somebody got.
Oh no!
It was, but that's that's the way. Old
I hope they got their
RFK
money
was.
back.
I don't know,
All right, we got to run.
Yeah,
we do need to tell old press box stories one of these days.
but that's
Time to round the bases and head for home,
Yeah.
or some such.
plenty of good stories on the PressBox DFW live website. This week we've got both Matt Mosley and Richie's recaps of the Cowboy game, their observations, and Wendell Barnhouse did a good job wrapping up the two college games we just saw.
Wendell's done a great job advancing
Yeah.
and wrapping up.
Right.
We really need to catch our A&M and Texas stuff.
And don't forget, if you haven't read it yet, by all means, please read the John's story on the opener, the Art Briles first game for Mount Vernon.
Oh yeah, great story.
And we've had to us, it's the fastest growing sports website in DFW, and
The numbers are in.
the
It
numbers
is.
are in, right. Don't forget to check our Bet the House football picks every week. We have a lot of fun doing that. And John, you're leading
I need to.
far and away.
Oh, you had a great week this week.
Don't go to Vegas.
I need a bookie. I need a bookie.
You really do. I mean, after this
bet-
week, I think that's
we-
the best week anybody's had in 2
We
years.
offer our picks against the line every week, and we do it for entertainment purposes only. And
Yes.
and
some
certainly
people
no competition among us.
Some
right?
people actually study their picks, ahead of time and try to make
Yeah.
intelligent picks. And I know I do.
Some real handicapping going on.
That's right.
Yeah, I take it seriously.
That's right. And so we, by all means, it's a fun read. Let us know. And if you win any money, we'll take 20%.
Yeah, we do have a
20%.
finder's
Sounds
fee
fair.
on that stuff. And I'm going to have a Shane Buechele story here in the next couple days. That
Oh,
I was out there.
Right. I've got my
Saturday.
Dak Prescott thing ready to roll. So be sure to check the website for that.
So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. And
Hopefully. You think we'll have Richie back?
if
Yeah.
Richie will probably make it back.
If
by
they
then.
let him back in the country, he might be on the no-fly list.
That's right. He might be.
well, if he is, I'll be happy to come back.
And a most gracious thank you. to
Thank you, Marjorie.
Lewis.
Well, thank you. I had a
you.
great time.
And continued best of luck with the book, and we can't wait for the movie.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll keep you posted.
Absolutely. That's it, lunch fans. We'll see you in the press box, DFW.